China's significant global economic position is influenced by its size, business relationships, currency reserves, foreign policies, and vast population. The impact of China on our daily lives is undeniable, as many products we use are manufactured in Chinese factories. But it's important to recognize that economic figures from Chinese agencies may be manipulated to present a more positive outlook on China's economy. Collecting GDP data is a challenging task. The World Bank assesses countries' abilities to produce accurate economic figures using the Statistical Capacity Score. China's score has improved over the years, but it still has been below average. While China ranked in the 38th percentile among low and middle-income countries in 2004 and the 52nd percentile in 2015, it reached 83rd percentile in 2016. This means that only 17% of countries in similar income brackets produced more accurate aggregate figures. However, it's important to note that low and middle-income countries generally face difficulties in generating high-quality economic data. China's inaccurate economic numbers worry the people who make decisions, invest money, and run businesses. To figure out how well a country is really doing, experts look at different metrics like surveys, pictures from space, and data from other countries. These things help them to see the bigger picture and check if the official numbers are right or not. Let's consider the GDP of Australia as an example that economists often analyze in the real world. In 2021, the World Bank estimated Australia's output to be 1.54 trillion. However, other organizations like the IMF and the United Nations provide different estimates of 1.72 trillion and 1.42 trillion, respectively. These variations, amounting to over $300 billion, demonstrate the challenges of accurately estimating GDP. Understanding the accuracy, precision, and relevance of figures is essential. Sometimes figures can be intentionally selected to mislead, even if they're not outright manipulating the data. In China, there's a real incentive for the government at all levels to present a positive image, which can lead to biased data. When these biased data points are combined to create national figures, the errors can accumulate and result in significant discrepancies. The formula for calculating economic output is straightforward. It involves measuring consumption, investment, and government spending, and exports. However, if one were to have all the resources of a national statistics bureau, it would be impractical to place an economist at every production line or service, as it would become a redundant exercise of measuring economic output itself. Advanced economies with formalized financial systems address this challenge by utilizing data collected by various government agencies. For instance, the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis estimates GDP for American states and the entire country using data from the IRS and Customs. The Chinese government acknowledged this problem in the 1990s, with leaked comments from top officials admitting that GDP figures were artificially manipulated. To address the issue, international organizations and the Chinese government no longer use data collected by provincial governments without making corrections for overinflated figures. However, the lack of transparency regarding these adjustments by the National Bureau of Statistics of China is a concern. The research division of the American Federal Reserve argues that this lack of transparency is even worse than outright false figures because it hinders understanding of the adjustments made. To improve economic estimates, alternative data can be utilized, avoiding reliance on government organizations. Li Keqiang, a Communist Party official, openly shared that he assessed the economy based on three indicators: electricity consumption, rail cargo volume, and bank lending. Increased electricity usage, higher rail cargo movement, and greater lending suggest greater economic output. These indicators are advantageous as they are centralized, making data collection easier and manipulation more challenging. Electricity consumption is directly measured from the grid. Rail yards monitor container movements, and banks maintain reliable records of debtors. However, accessing detailed information from Chinese state-owned banks may prove difficult for foreign economists, leaving these figures susceptible to manipulation. Despite this, there are other data sources available that may be less reliable but easier to gather. One popular method to estimate economic activity is by measuring nighttime light emissions using satellite imagery. The idea is that more light indicates higher economic output. Road lights, factory lights, car lights, and stadium lights all contribute to this measure. Comparing South Korea with a GDP of $1.8 trillion to North Korea with a GDP of roughly $29 billion provides a rough test of this theory. However, there are limitations to this approach. Light output is influenced by factors other than economic activity, such as population, size, industrialization level, and cultural preferences for brightness. For instance, Shanghai may have more lights than Paris, but Paris is the larger economic center. Adjusting for these factors introduces discretion and raises concerns about changing outputs. An economist at the University of Chicago, Luis Martinez, found that China's growth in light output did not align with its claimed economic growth. Autocratic governments, on average, tend to overstate their economic figures by about 35% when using light output as an indicator. The paper suggested that China's growth may have been overestimated by more than double between 1993 and 2012. When it comes to decision-making in the overall economy, GDP figures may not hold as much significance as commonly believed. While GDP growth is often sought after because it can lead to improved living standards, it's possible for living standards and economic influence to decline despite increasing output. China serves as an example of this counterintuitive trend. Let's take a closer look at how China's position on the Economics Explained national leaderboard would change based on alternative estimates. Regarding size, most research papers don't provide their own GDP estimates for China, but offer insights into the overestimation of official figures. By working backward from these estimates, even the most critical evaluations place China's national output at around $9 trillion, compared to the official claim of $17.7 trillion. This still makes China the world's second largest economy, earning a perfect score of 10 out of 10. GDP per capita is the crucial factor because it underlies the Chinese government's motivation to manipulate these figures. The government justifies certain restrictions by promising participation in the world's fastest-growing economy. However, considering the more modest estimates we've explored, China's GDP per capita could be as low as $4,500, significantly below the official figure of just over $10,000. This adjustment would push a significant portion of the population back below the international poverty line, resulting in a score of 3 out of 10. Stability and confidence are influenced by non-output factors like political stability, fair legal systems, military ambitions, and reliance on specific industries. These factors remain unchanged, maintaining a score of 6 out of 10. The issue of growth is where the disconnect from reality becomes evident. Continuous manipulation of growth figures over time leads to estimations that China's output may be exaggerated by double or more. Despite China's impressive achievements, even the most conservative estimates lower its growth score from 10 out of 10 to 8 out of 10. In terms of industry, there is a consensus among economists that China's manufacturing, construction, and service sectors rival only those of the United States on a global scale. Therefore, it still receives a score of 10 out of 10. Taking all factors into account, China's adjusted score on the leaderboard would be 7.4 out of 10, which remains highly impressive. However, for the sake of precision and consistency, using alternative estimates for China's score would disrupt the World Bank's standardized approach. It's worth noting that other countries on the list may manipulate their figures even more, but they attract less attention due to their lower economic stature compared to China, the world's second largest economy. With that said, thank you for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more. And if you found this content helpful, give the video a like. See you in the next video. Till then, take care.